Have you ever stopped to wonder what courage really is? Is it the strength to throw a punch? Or is it the quiet determination to protect the people you love, no matter the cost? Today I want to share with you a story that proves heroes are not always found on movie screens or in comic books. Sometimes they're found in the most unexpected places, in aprons, carrying trays, scrubbing floors. This is the unforgettable story of Valentina Morales, a humble maid who risked everything to save her employer and his young son. A story of loyalty, sacrifice, and a love so deep it blurred the lines between duty and family. In the wealthy outskirts of Madrid stood the Herrera mansion, a place of marble floors, chandeliers, and manicured gardens that looked like something out of a fairy tale. But for its owner, Miguel Herrera, life wasn't a fairy tale. At 44 years old, he was one of Spain's wealthiest businessmen, the founder of a luxury hotel empire known across Europe. To the public, he was admired, a man who built everything from nothing. But behind the golden gates, Miguel carried fears that money could not erase. Every night, as he kissed his only son goodnight, he worried. His fortune was both a blessing and a curse. He had enemies, competitors, and opportunists who would do anything to get what he had. And above all, he feared one thing more than anything: losing Lucas, his 10-year-old boy. Living in this palace of wealth was Valentina, a 29-year-old maid. But Valentina was not like the others who worked in the mansion. Life had shaped her differently. Orphaned as a teenager, she grew up cleaning houses and working odd jobs just to survive. There were days she went hungry. Nights she cried herself to sleep. But through it all, she developed something rare: resilience. By the time she was hired by Miguel, she was disciplined, loyal, and above all, trustworthy. Miguel respected her dedication, but Lucas adored her. To the boy, Valentina was more than just a maid. She was the one who listened to his silly stories, helped him with his homework, and comforted him when he had nightmares. She became his second mother, a protector in ways no one else understood. But Valentina carried a secret. For nearly a decade, she had been training in martial arts. It began as a way to release stress, but soon became her passion. 3 evenings a week, she practiced judo, taekwondo, and self-defense. Her instructor used to tell her, "Strength is not in your fists, Valentina. True strength is when your heart refuses to let fear control you." That strength was about to be tested. It was a quiet October evening. Outside, the wind rattled through the trees, and the skies threatened rain. Inside, the mansion seemed calm. Miguel was in his study on an important business call with partners in London. Lucas was in the upstairs library trying to solve a tricky math problem. Valentina, as always, was tidying the kitchen after dinner. Then she heard it. At first it was faint, a floorboard creaking in a part of the house no one should be in. Her instincts sharpened instantly. She paused, holding her breath. Then came another sound, softer but deliberate. Someone was inside. Her pulse quickened, but she stayed calm. Quietly, she moved down the hallway, her senses alert. And then, through the crack of the library door, she saw it. A masked man, dressed in black, moving slowly toward Lucas. The intruder's name was Carlos Mendoza, a man with a long criminal record: robberies, assaults, And now, kidnapping. For weeks, he had studied the mansion. He knew the guards' routines, the blind spots in the cameras, even the timing of Miguel's meetings. His plan was simple: grab the boy, demand a fortune, and disappear. What he hadn't expected was Valentina. Valentina's heart pounded. She could have screamed. She could have run for help. But she knew one thing. If she wasted even a second, Lucas would be gone. She stepped into the library, her voice firm, her presence unshaken. "Stop. Don't move." Carlos froze, then turned. His eyes narrowed behind the mask. He saw nothing but a maid standing between him and his prize. With a cruel grin, he pulled a knife from his jacket. "Move aside, lady," he sneered. "I don't want to hurt you. Just give me the boy." Lucas looked up, terrified, but Valentina's gaze was steady, her voice unwavering. "You're not taking him anywhere. The only one leaving here is you." Carlos laughed. "You, a maid? Do yourself a favor and stay out of this." Then he lunged. Time slowed. The moment his arm swung forward with the knife, Valentina's training took over. She sidestepped, grabbed his wrist, twisted with precision, and the knife clattered to the floor. With her other hand, she struck his chest, forcing the air from his lungs. Carlos staggered, cursing. He swung wildly with his fists, but Valentina blocked, dodged, and countered. Each move was fluid, sharp, calculated. She was not fighting for glory. She was fighting for Lucas. The boy watched in awe and terror as Valentina spun, hooked her leg, and flipped the intruder over her shoulder. Carlos slammed onto the marble floor with a grunt of pain. Still he tried to rise. "Stay down," Valentina warned, her voice like steel. But Carlos was stubborn. He lunged again. This time Valentina struck with controlled precision, an elbow to the jaw, a knee to the stomach, and finally a strike to a pressure point that left him gasping, immobilized. In less than 2 minutes, the so-called professional kidnapper was lying unconscious on the ground. Lucas ran to Valentina, tears streaming down his face. "You saved me," he whispered, hugging her tightly. "You're safe now, my boy," she murmured, her heart finally slowing. Moments later, Miguel burst into the room with guards. The sight before him was surreal. His son safe in Valentina's arms, and a masked man unconscious at her feet. The guards restrained Carlos, but Miguel could hardly process what he was seeing. His voice cracked with emotion. You saved my child." Valentina lowered her eyes humbly. "I couldn't do otherwise. Lucas is like my own son. I would have given my life for him." Her words pierced him deeper than any blade could. The police investigation revealed Carlos had been planning the kidnapping for weeks. He had studied everything, but he had underestimated the courage of a maid. Days later, Miguel made a decision. He called Valentina into his office, his voice steady but filled with warmth. "Valentina, what you did was extraordinary. You saved my son. You saved me. You're not just an employee anymore. Your family." He offered her a future she never dreamed of, a tripled salary, a permanent home in the mansion, education funds for her future, and a lifetime pension. More than that, he gave her a title, household administrator, a position of trust and honor. Valentina wept, not for the money, not for the luxury, but because for the first time in her life she was seen, valued, loved. Lucas rushed in, hugging her. "I told you, Valentina, you're part of our family now." And so The maid who once scrubbed floors became the protector, the confidant, and the heart of the Herrera household. She may not have worn a cape, but to Miguel and Lucas, Valentina was and always would be their hero.